I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody out tonight. I don't know if it's fall or summer or what it is, but it does feel good for those of us that like cool weather. Okay, our roll call tonight, we have everyone present here, but Mary Beth Schmidt is not with us tonight. She had another commitment here tonight. And so we move down to the approved agenda. We do have some additions to make to that tonight. The first would be, we're going to be the, under business item, under, would be A6, be the Redmond Consulting Services. And then under reports, number 7, we received the Washtenaw County Police, so we're going to put that under C, 7C. And then the last item will be under 10, number 10, 10C, under Salem Springs LLC, as we go into closed session. Any comments about that? Questions?
Yeah, I'd like.
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
You have a second on that?
Yep.
John? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The agenda's approved. We can go on, and just a comment before we have public comment tonight. I'd like to, most of you know Carol Liogio has been the administrative assistant for years here at the township, and she had major surgery on her back here about 3 weeks ago. I can tell you she's doing fine and she's recovering. And for those of you that know her, if you need addresses to send her a card and encourage her for her speedy recovery, your prayers and thoughts. I seen Harry at McDonald's here last Saturday, and I think he needs prayer. So, but he's been a good nurse to her. I talked to him today and talked also to her, and she's seems like she's moving right along. So keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Okay, we go down to public comment. Bonnie.
I would like to approach the board and give them some information that I have discovered recently. I have packets for everyone, if that's possible.
Sure.
If you have time to read it, look at it, or something like that. Whatever.
Thank you.
Where can I stick one for this?
Right there.
Thanks.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question, Judge.
Yes, sir.
I see that we're going into closed session. What is the reason for that?
Well, we have 3 issues that are on the closed session. One is we had a previous lawsuit that was, if you see here, the under Jenkinson and Hoppy, and the attorney will be here tonight to discuss the issues about that case.
Okay.
The other is on land preservation, of where we are going and what we have talked about price-wise. We still don't know where we're at it. We are making everything public to the people as far as when there are offers on the table, people are going to know it. But we're just just going to give updated on the board where we are at this time. Then Salem Springs is still, the litigation
Yeah.
that's going on after the referendum, and will be updated by legal counsel tonight on that.
Okay. Okay,
All right?
yep.
All right. Anybody else? Okay, so let's move on to the consent agenda. Our clerk, Mr. Wenzel.
Gary, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of July 9th, 2013, the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Secondly, the disbursements for July of 2013, the general fund, which is the July check roster of $87,435.51. That's checks 24,100 through 24,152. We also have the escrow fund of $14,472, consisted of checks 1525 through 1528. We had total payroll for July of $46,155.48, and it cost us $177 for Paycor, which is our payroll company. The sewer fund of $5,497.04. That consisted of two checks, $1,899 and $1,900. Now for August invoices, we will be dispersing for the invoices of August of $429,461.36, and the sewer fund $4,637.67. Before I get a second, I just want to make everyone, the reason the invoices are so high for August, it includes the first payment for our roads for the Washtenaw County Road Commission. So I'll look for a second.
Can I ask, I think there's a date correction on the item number 3, Salem Bible Church Corn Fest. It said it's on Saturday, August 18th, 2012. For this year, it would be August 17th, 2013. In the minutes.
Oh, in the minutes, August 17th?
In the minutes. It should be August 17th, 2013.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, do we have a second on this?
Support.
Mr. Trent, seconded. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. Okay, we go down to the road projects. Just give you a quick update of what's going on. Actually, tomorrow we'll start the big road project. We're M14 going north on Govertson Road to North Territorial will be shut down. They're saying that this is going to take about a week. Hopefully the weather cooperates, which it looks like the weather is going to cooperate. Of course, along there, I always worry about the businesses there, so those of you who go to Carl's and some of them, please support them while that road is closed. You'll be able to enter their business along Old North Territorial, but that'll be the only way to get to their business during that time, so they are aware of it. And so that will be starting tomorrow. Then come August 19th, they will be starting the section of North Territorial, which will be from Govertson Road, in that section in front of Christensen's, going up, doing the project up through where Fox Hills is up to Curtis Road. Them two sections will be done. Then the last project along North Territorial should start August the 29th. and that will be from just east of Tower Road and up going west to Pontiac Trail. So we're anxious to get these done. 7 Mile Road is in that. They haven't actually given us a date, which would be from Chubb Road, 7 Mile from Chubb Road up to Curry Road. So we're hopefully that these projects will get done, that they'll do a good job, and that we can get some of them roads behind us that are, people have been complaining about for quite some time now. Any questions about the roads? Tom?
Excuse me, Gary, what was the second section you mentioned?
The second section is kind of like in 2 sections. There's kind of a small part between Fox Hills Party Store
This is on North
on
Territorial.
Territorial, correct,
Yeah.
up to just east of Govertson Road, kind of like in front of Christensen's is where all the bad sections are.
Christensen's is,
That's just east of Goverson Road.
oh, okay. The shock absorber test road.
You got it.
No, I don't.
And then it just begins kind of like where Fox Hills starts. There's another bad stretch from that part going west to Curtis Road. Then after that, they had redone some, so that part's fine. Then it starts by Tower on the 29th.
Okay, so is the second phase gonna take from the 19th to the 29th?
Right, they're pulverizing the pavement and using that as a base also, which will raise the road. And so it's, they're gonna, they're gonna be closing, some of it's gonna be all closed at the same time. So it might be overlapping some, but not by much. So,
So, are they gonna completely close the road?
yes, we're gonna completely close up these sections of roads to get it done in a timely manner, which they're saying about a week for each section.
Okay, so,
And then 7 Mile Road will not be, that will be 1 lane at a time.
all right, so if you could do me a favor, we will pass that to the sheriff's office and HVA so that if we get emergencies.
Right, I believe they already have that, because Roy Townsend had sent me an email saying that they were notified.
Okay,
And they actually personally went and talked to businesses and also some of the public safety, what he had mentioned. But I'll check with them.
well, actually, if you could just give us an email
All
so
right.
that we could contact them.
All right. All right, and Jerry.
Who is paying for this road work? Is it us or is it the county?
Again, we'll explain, and hopefully most of you got your newsletter by now. And maybe that's why we have a great crowd tonight, so I appreciate y'all coming. A lot of you have been here, some are here for the first time, thanks for coming out. So maybe we should send out a newsletter every, or notify everybody just the day before, so that'll work out good. But basically, make it simple, we are spending $1,007,000 spread over 3 years. We're not spending $1 million this year, we're spending $350,000 for these projects. And so we've been billed already, $350, I think we paid it. And then we'll be billed next year at this time for another $350, and then the final phase for $350 to get all 3 major, or, well, I should say 5 major projects done now. Salem historically has always budgeted about $300,000, if I'm correctly, over the past of helping and partnering with Washtenaw County to maintain some of these roads. So they are kind of financing it for us. So that's the deal that the board had struck with Washtenaw County, and we feel it's a great deal. And then again, some people say it's wishful thinking, but the roads in the state of Michigan are very bad. There's proposals up in Lansing for, I don't know, $1 billion, whatever it is, the amount of money that is supposed to be passed. And if it's passed, out of these 3 years, if it's passed, we will receive all of our money back on the 4 major projects, because they are listed and have been submitted to Lansing in this amount of money that Lansing is supposed to find some way how to pay for it. So we're hoping that will happen. It might not, but if it does happen, we'll get all our money back, which will be really great.
Well, Gary, what are we getting for our county taxes?
I'm sorry, what?
We're paying county taxes. What are we getting for that?
Well, you know, mainly they are maintaining the roads. You know, we call up like today over at Brookville, the guy, you know, you can hardly go down it, but they are out there with gravel. You know, we call them and tell them what they're doing. But the infrastructure work, there's been no money. You go through Northfield, you'll see the same problem they have there. They just have no money to do it. So, again, as the board, we felt that it was, you know, because we're designating $300,000 a yearly, historically have always done, we feel this is a major thing to get a lot of these roads in our township done. Yeah.
I would just like to say that I really appreciate the efforts of the board. You could have just passed the buck and said it's Washtenaw County's responsibility, and you found ways, the least painful way to pay for that and get that done for the residents of Salem. And I think the messenger was really a wonderful periodical, or whatever you want to call it, this last time, because there's really a lot of information in there. It dispelled a lot of rumors and everything, because it's too bad a lot of times in politics when you're accomplishing something good for the people that you represent, other people distort it. And I think the messenger kind of explained things pretty well. And I just really feel it's a great thing that this board did to take that project on and put all that effort in and to work it out with Washtenaw County and to make it the least painful by having them finance it. And then also maybe have the possibility of getting that money back. So it's kind of like a win-win all the way. And I just felt that somebody should say thank you, and I say thank you.
You can pick up your check on the way out.
Came from my heart.
Thanks, Dan.
Non-political.
Okay, any other questions on the roads? Just want to make sure everybody's aware, and because it is going to be inconvenient for a little bit, because it's bad when people are driving around. Okay, let's move on down to our assessor. That's on the agenda next. Let me just give you a little bit of an update. The board approved of a committee which consisted of myself and Mr. Converse and Mr. John Daniel to open the bids for the assessor that we had gone out for bid for. We received 3 different applicants. We met on July the 24th and had posted an open meeting, and we went through the bids and came to an agreement of actually I had called all 3. We invited one tonight to be here to actually ask him some questions and that. So at this time we'll have William Gunther to maybe come up here at the microphone. So you're gonna have to, I'm going to have to apologize to you, Bill, because this is my first interview. So first.
Mine too.
Bill was the lowest bidder as we put all the estimates together. And of course, any of you that would like to see these, I'd be glad to share them with you anytime. So, Mr. Gunther has worked many years with up at Washtenaw County assessing. Bill is very familiar with Salem Township. I believe you'll see on board, you'll see some of his history. Also has dealt with Salem Township, I believe, since 1990, 1999, I think the date goes back.
Right, it started in 1999 through about 2003.
Okay.
At that point, then the township contracted independently for the service. Prior to that, you contracted with Washtenaw County Equalization, and I was an employee there at that time assigned to this district.
Can you turn the mic on?
Is it on? All right, here we go. So, and again, so in 1999 you started with, is that when you, I say that again, you were,
I started in 1999 with the Equalization Department, and Salem was contracting with them to provide the assessing service at that time, and I was assigned to the township, to actually do the assessing. I wasn't assigned the assessment role. The Equalization Director was.
okay, and this, I mean, just to bring some of you all up to date that have not been here before or whatever, it was my first board of review this past March, and the board really felt that we needed to make a change of what we currently have. We had a lot of people coming in with a lot of different complaints. We have a lot of issues before the Michigan Tribune. A lot of them cases were not won by Salem Township. You can ask the treasurer sitting here to my right of all the work that has to be done when you lose them cases. And so we just feel that this was a necessity to bring some harmony back into the tax situation of property taxes here in Salem Township. So that's where we are up here at this point. So at this time, I'd like to just open it up to the board. If you have questions for Mr. Gunther, you're more than willing to, unless you want to hear more, if you want to hear more about him. So, go at it.
Bill, let me start with the, I don't even know what it's going to be called, but on the election, they're proposing to do away with the personal property taxes on those incomes less than, for businesses with less than $40,000, which the majority of our personal property, the 88th I like to refer them towards, which is the Northfield crossings and, personal property on leased land, most of those will go away. So the $4 that you have in here, would that then reduce your amount that you would be expecting if those taxes actually do go away?
I believe that they, a number of years ago, switched the buildings on leased land to the real property, so that wouldn't be affected. It would just be the industrial and the commercial personal property, the equipment and machinery, desks, computers, and whatever that these businesses have that would be affected by that. But each one of those accounts is an individual account, and my fee is based on a per account basis. So technically, yes, that would, theoretically, it's less work if you have less, parcels to deal with. I'm not looking forward to that, but.
Hey, Bill, quick question.
Yes.
So what other townships are you currently working with right now?
The only other township I'm with is Van Buren Township, which is the area east of Willow Run, and it's cut in half by I-94, and it goes up to just past 275. It includes, it surrounds the city of Belleville, goes up to Michigan Avenue.
Will you'll still be able to work with them and work with us?
Correct.
It's feasible to do both?
Correct, because you require 2 days a week, and I'd like to continue those on the days that you currently have an assessor here, Tuesdays and Thursdays, just to eliminate any confusion with the public as to when, the assessor's office will be open. And then I will be in Van Buren Township on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, my association by law has to end with Washtenaw County, because there's a state rule, a tax commission rule, that you cannot be employed by the county equalization department and be doing the assessing independently in one of the units within the county. And the theory is that the equalization department is the watchdog agency for the township assessor. So there would be a conflict if I were working in both offices.
Thank you.
questions?
And Mr. Supervisor, I have a few I'd like to ask Mr. Gunther. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Bill, talk about the role of the assessor and its interface with the Board of Review and your philosophy and approach to that.
Well, by law, the first Monday in March, I turn the assessment roll over to the Board of Review. They are an autonomous body. That is, I don't influence them and they don't influence me. They're in charge of that assessment roll following the first Monday in March. Now, I never viewed my role as adversarial. I have a high regard for public service as being just that, service to the public. So when I am in the Board of Review meetings, I am there only to support the data that I'm giving them, not render an opinion on, whether this appeal should be granted or that appeal should be granted. I'm there just to inform the board how that assessment was reached.
Discuss for a moment your interface with the public, not only during the Board of Review timeframe when appeals are coming through, but also during the course of the year.
Well, again, it shouldn't be adversarial. I'm there to assist them, explain how the assessment was reached, and correct any mistake that I had made, because of course I depend on my work being accurate, and if there's something that the public knows that I don't know, I'll be out on the site to verify the information we have. The way I do my work and the scope of the work to be done is controlled by the State Property Tax Act. But beyond that, there's a certain discretion I have in the way I interpret the law, and as long as that's within the purpose and the intent of the act, the State Tax Commission will go along with it. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you have. Let me follow up with that. After the March Board of Review, if a property owner desires to appeal their SEV or their taxable value and take it to the Michigan Tax Tribunal, if that individual is successful in their appeal at that level, what's the process as far as the information that flows back to the township? What's your role? What's your interface with the supervisor and or the Board of Review after that point in time?
Well, after the tribunal acts, they'll send the township, who they consider the respondent, and also the petitioner, the results, and then it also, a copy of it goes to the county equalization director, and then whatever is decided upon is then acted upon. I mean, if the case is dismissed, or if the tribunal acts in the respondents, that being the township's favor, then there's no action to be taken. But if they rule in the petitioner's favor, then we just carry out the order of the tribunal. Is that?
How is that, let me throw out a hypothetical. You have X number of people that come to the March Board of Review, they make their case, and the Board of Review makes their decisions. 20 people decide they're going to go to the next level. Let's say 15 out of those 20 are successful, and they have successful appeals. That information of those 15 successful appeals at the state level, how is that? How are those decisions and the effect of the tax reductions relayed to the supervisor, who has the oversight of the assessing department, and the Board of Review the next time around, if you will? I guess I'm concerned about what happens with that information where the homeowner feels that they've won. You know, the judge up there in Lansing says they've been successful in their appeal, and they might have a substantial reduction. It could be $40,000 in their SEV or $20,000 or $30,000 in their taxable value. What is the starting point then when they get their SEV information the following February?
Okay,
In
well,
preparation for,
case law is saying,
and also that gap in time that exists, you know, all these appeals that are heard in September or October or November.
they're getting a lot better than they had been. They're scheduling these things sooner, and
Sure.
they've hired more people to get rid of that backlog, because it was nearly a 2-year backlog, so that's catching up really, really good now. But I just reached a blank here. The starting point for the next year, there's case law to support the fact that you must consider whatever the court's decision was when you're going into the next year. It doesn't say that that decision has to be the starting point for the next year's assessment. But what I've always done in the past is if I get a ruling from the Michigan Tax Tribunal in favor of the petitioner, I'll take another look at the property to see if there is, maybe I didn't depreciate enough, it should have been, or maybe there just wasn't support in the market for the assessment I had placed on the property. And then if I feel it's justified, I myself can lower it back down to the decision, or if I don't feel it's justified, then I can put it wherever I feel it should be. As long, you know, it's supposedly, by law, 50% of market value is your assessment. But beyond that, the property owner is protected by what was Proposal A years ago in 1994, that his value is now capped at whatever that decision was. So if he had a $2,000 house and the tax tribunal said it should be a $100,000 house, his taxable value for that year that should have been $100,000 was $50,000. So the next year, the taxable value can only go up by the cost of living. So it, you know, might go up to $51,000, even though I set the taxable value back up at $200,000. The property owner is protected under the terms of Proposal A and the capping of the taxable value.
Based on your experience, when people come to the Board of Review, are they appealing their SEVs or are they appealing their taxable value?
More than half of them are appealing their taxes. You know, they don't understand the connection, and of course I try to make that clear when it's presented at the Board of Review, is that if there's a large gap, if you've owned your house since 1994, you might have a 30% gap between what it's actually worth and the amount you're paying taxes on, because that's been capped at the cost of living, which has been relatively low for the past 10, 15 years. So even if there's a substantial reduction by the tribunal in their assessed value, it may not mean $1 to them in taxes because of that cap value. But again, most of them are just unhappy with the amount of taxes they're paying.
In your judgment, what would be a reasonable number of appeals that would come out of a jurisdiction our size? If we're assessing
It really
properties?
varies year to year, you know, depending on the market. It's been low the last several years because the market's been on a downslide. But when that reverses and heads back up again, you'll probably see that the number of the people that are appealing increase. You know, it could be dramatic. But that's usually what it's based on, is whether assessments are going down generally or up generally.
The sales reports a few months ago indicated that Salem Township was the highest percentage increase in sales volume in Washtenaw County for this current year. When the assessment rolls are reviewed next February, is there a across the board percentage increase that the county establishes, and to what degree do you have flexibility on adjusting that?
I have no flexibility on adjusting what the county says it should be. They equalize by class. So they'll take a look at our residential class, and they do it in two ways. They'll add up all the sale prices, and then compare that with those houses that have sold, the assessed value. And that ratio is by law to be 50%. If my assessments are below half of the sale price, they'll tell me that I have to increase it by that amount, that it's low. And in reverse, of course, if my assessments exceed 50% of the sale. If there aren't enough sales, what they do is they'll do what they call an appraisal study, where they'll go out and pick a sample of properties in the residential class and in every class of property that we have. And they'll go send an appraiser out there. They'll determine what the land value is, then add to that the building value. And there's a couple other factors that they include, something they call an ECF, which is basically a locational factor. And then from that, they'll determine the appraised value they came up with, and they'll compare that with my assessment. Like you say that Salem is fastest increasing the number of sales in the county, then they'll probably be able to do a sales study rather than an appraisal study. But I don't have any flexibility in that figure, that average figure. Where I do have the flexibility is where those increases will be placed. And I do that by, I divide the township into neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods will have similar type construction. There might be a more rural one, and this village here might be one area because you have small lots and relatively smaller homes. And then I can look at, analyze each individual area to see maybe some are increasing faster than others. So that's where my flexibility is.
Okay. I have one last question, Mr. Supervisor.
Wow.
Bill?
Sorry, I'm sorry, trustee Turner.
What kinds of things can you proactively do to help minimize or diffuse conflict between property owners and yourself and or the Board of Review? And what things can you do to help educate our community to make that process better understood?
Well, just by educating them as to, what I'm required to do, and most often people, when you just explain how the assessment's reached, and then if they're not pleased with it, explain the appeal process to them. I've always told people that they shouldn't be intimidated by the appeals process, because I explained that the Board of Review is 3 citizens at large. They live in the community. They're not professionals, and they're independent of me. And then I try to encourage them, if they're not happy there, to go to the tribunal, because that, again, is a very informal process. The tribunal is conducted by, usually an attorney or somebody that's certified assessor. There aren't any, other than the fact if the hearing officer is an attorney, there aren't any attorneys present. It's very informal, and it's usually held here in the county somewhere. The hearings are to make it more convenient for the property owner. But, if we can't reach agreement, myself and the property owner, then I do encourage them, by telling them it's nothing that they should be intimidated by. But I found if I just explain the process to them and listen to, if they disagree with it and the disagreement's valid, then I'm going to take a look at it.
Mr. Supervisor, please forgive me. I have 2 more very brief questions, if I may. Very brief. Bill, on your resume, you indicate that most of your work experiences in the world of appraising. As an assessor, how frequently have you had to go to tax tribunal sessions? And what percentage of those would you say you've won or lost when it's gone to that level based on your assessments?
I average about 2 a month in Van Buren Township. This Van Buren Township has almost 11,000 parcels, and the vast majority of those, well over 9,000 of those, are single-family residential homes. So I averaged about 2 or 3 a month, and of those, I've been successful with about 70%. The rest were either with, that includes the ones that were withdrawn or dismissed. And maybe the property owner didn't show up.
Okay.
But here again, I feel that's because I'll take a look at it first and see if there's when you're assessing, your average has got to be 50%. Your average value has to be at 50% of market. But the problem is there's many that fall through the cracks. There's many that might be too low and some that are too high. So, of course, the ones that are too high are the ones that are going to come to the board of review. And you can't possibly look at every house every year. So it's good that those ones are brought before the board of review, and then I can take a look at it and again, possibly diffuse the need for them to go any farther.
Very good. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Supervisor, for your
Thank you.
kind indulgence.
Thank you.
And thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Any other questions up here?
Bill, on land appraisals, what is the standard time frame that land should be reevaluated as far as, is it every 5 years, every 2 years, or is there a time frame that you need to go back and do a land sale study to find out what the true market value of land has been?
We do that every year, and it's from October 1st to September 30th of every year. You should look at all the sales and see whether your land values need to be raised or lowered. The state wants you to look at every property every 5 years. So they ask that you look at 20% of the properties annually. But as far as your land values, they should be studied every year.
Very good, very good.
Okay? TJ, you have something?
Yeah, just, what factors do you consider the most important in determining the appraised value of properties?
Well,
Is
they
it
always,
market?
they always say location, and that's really true. It's usually the first thing you look at is the location. But, yeah, I'm looking at the market, see what these similar properties are selling for. And then you look at where it's located and the features of the property, what kind of quality it is. And then, of course, the size of it, whether it's brick or frame, whether or not it has a basement and a garage, fireplace. The state has a manual that they require I use, and the manual is based on square foot cost. What it costs to build a certain quality type of construction per square foot. And once you calculate that, then you add things that aren't included in that cost, which would be air conditioning, garages, fireplaces, built-in appliances, that type of thing.
And have you had a lot of experience in assessing farm properties, outbuildings and barns and, it's a lot different than
Yes.
some of these other places,
Yes,
just neighborhoods.
Yeah, and most recently I was assigned to do the assessing in Freedom Township. And Freedom Township is vastly agricultural with the exception of the properties around Pleasant Lake. So, and I was there for about 6 years prior to, about 2 years ago, when I strictly did commercial and industrial properties. So I do have quite a bit of experience in outbuildings. And it's especially important to note that when you get to some of these buildings that were built in the early 1900s and late 1800s, there's a lot of obsolescence there. Because they weren't designed for modern, they were designed for horses and wagons and livestock, and now they don't keep livestock in it anymore, and you can't get modern farm machinery into one of these structures. So there's a lot of obsolescence that you have to take a look at when you're valuing that thing. Even it might cost you $50,000 to build one of these, old bank barns. That's not what they have, that's not the value they have in the market. When you're looking to buy it, you might look at that and say, I might pay an extra $3,000, $5,000 for that barn, but only to use as storage, so. And a lot of these silos too are obsolete because they're just simply not used.
Okay, anyone else? Okay.
Just one more comment. As far as the assessing that had been done previous in the township, I think there might be a lot of you that are here tonight that have had some issues. Basically, what I think this board wants, I know that I want, and being in charge of assessing, is so that the public and people, the residents of Salem Township, understand how they are being taxed and have it clearly spoken to them, and that they understand why they are being taxed and what they're being taxed at. In the very beginning, when I became the supervisor, there were all kinds of issues, and still continues to be all kinds of issues. And basically what I answer to the county, I had a conference with Bill's, I'm sorry, what's his name? I always forget his name. Ramon for years, who actually did assessing at the township, or that we contracted him for the county. He had been here. So he highly recommends, the guy I answer to highly recommends this man also. So I feel, and just some of the, on the parcels is how they have priced them. The three other bidders, one was at $60,000, this is yearly, $60,000 a year for the parcels. The other bid came in at $53,995. Mr. Gunther is at $41,030. Mr. Gunther has requested that he be on the payroll here at the township. There's no benefits involved that you're looking for, you're just looking at to be on the payroll. So that would increase yours up to, I did the quick calculation, which would be about $44,168. I think that's what we came up with if you're put on the payroll. That being said, the other, as far as when he could start, we had talked to the Wayne County, or our current assessors right now, that they would finish out this month at half the price. Their contract actually ends tomorrow. So without being an assessor, they're going to fill in the rest of the month at half the price. Mr. Gunther would start if voted on the 29th, and therefore try to make an easy transition between them between that time. So, questions?
If he's an employee, can you discriminate with benefits or without benefits between employees?
He's not, yeah, he's not, you're not requesting them, so.
No. I don't need any benefits. I formally retired from Washtenaw County Equalization, and they're paying my health benefits. So I don't need any type of fringe benefits.
So, Gary, the reason that he doesn't want to be a contractor is because of liability insurance? What is the reason he wants to be an employee? I would think that would pose a lot of questions for the board.
Exactly.
No, I don't believe so. I believe he's just being paid and having the taxes taken out. It's not,
Yeah, but workman's comp comes in there, paid holidays and all that stuff, even though he's a part-time employee, he would have the same benefits as any other part-time employee. Otherwise, you would be discriminating.
but not if he's not requesting it.
Then I think he
What
would
we
have to
what we
sign
had
off.
proposed to do is to have our attorney draft up a contract between
Okay,
him and the township, and,
In other words, this is sort of a done deal already.
yes.
well, it's depending what the board decides.
All right, well, a contract would have to be signed to eliminate those benefits, I would think.
Well, that's what we plan to do. That would
Okay.
be in my motion.
Okay.
Any other questions, board? All right, then I am going to move that Salem Township Board of Trustees approve the hiring of William Guthrie to the position of the Township Assessor as an employee of the township with an annual salary of $41,030 at a start date of August 29th, 2013. Also direct the township attorney to draft a contract to include specific items related to the RFP noted in the proposal submitted by Mr. Guthrie. In addition, approve the contract extension of the Wayne County appraisal through the end of August 2013. To be the half-month payment. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second
Any questions?
Gary?
Yes.
Is he going to be at will, or is he going to be a regular employee?
Be at will. Mr. Munch?
In other words, he's gonna be working 2 days a week, right?
Correct.
And he's gonna make $41,000.
It's per parcel. Right now, we are paying $48,045. Will be around $44,000.
But
Okay.
you're not paying Social Security to them.
Yeah, that's the $44,000 that I'm talking about. He's at $41,000. I figured it'd probably be about $44,000 if he's on the payroll.
Plus Social Security benefits
Yeah,
that the
that is-
township pays.
That includes those.
That includes that.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, let's move on down to the Land Preservation Conservation Board appointments. I move that Salem Township appoint the following people to the Land Preservation Conservation Board for a 2-year term beginning August 1st, 2013 and ending July 31st, 2015. Mr. Steve Schaefer, Mr. Carl Gilman, and Sandra Petrosky, who is the Planning Commission member. Got a second on that?
I'll second.
TJ? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. All right, we're down to the Community Development Administrative position. Most of you know Donna Cripps will be had committed to work for the township through December of this year. I feel this is a real necessary appointment and position in our township, that we need somebody with the knowledge and expertise of land use and other issues that she does. And she's done a great fill-in job, and I think that we need to go out now and find the people that are out there that might be able to fill this position so that we can have somebody in place by December. So I don't want to wait till the last minute to have people apply or to see who's out there to fill this position. So my motion is I move that Salem Township approve the posting for hire for the Community Development Administrator position. It will be considered a part-time, less than 30 hours, with a pay range of $17.50 an hour to $25, and possibly contracted out. The 3 executive officials are charged with reviewing applications and resumes for the position and to submit finalists for board interview. Have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Daniel seconds. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. All right, Mr. Trent.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the appointment of the following members to the Optical Scanning RFP Committee. Clerk Dale Wensley as the chair, David Trent as the trustee, Kim Taggart, our deputy clerk, and Donna Kritz, our community development administrator, and to have the following charge. To review all bid proposal for the optical scanning RFP that are due by close of business September 3rd, 2013, with bids to be opened on September 4th. Analyze and research the bids, prioritizing them for final board approval at the September 10, 2013 meeting, and to publish the necessary advertisements to comply with the purchasing and bid policy.
We have a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Converse? For those of you that don't know what this is, Dave, you want to explain what, I think this has been an ongoing thing that we're trying to get.
That is true, Mr. Supervisor. We had $20,000 budgeted last year for this project. We did not commence that project in the last fiscal year. The monies were rebudgeted under the Community Development Administrator Cost Center. And we're moving forward with this project. Will essentially digitize all of the files that are in the attic of the Ryder House that are related to the building department and site plan reviews, and ensure that we have those types of records that can be stored off-site in case of a fire or dire emergency. So we'll always have permanent records available to us. With the digitizing of that, and the RFP is attached for your review. We'll be publishing those notices throughout the rest of the month and accepting bids through September 3rd.
All right. Yeah, Tom, question?
David, excuse my ignorance, but I have a scanner at home and it costs a lot less than $20,000. Could you kind of give me some details?
You know, the reason for the cost is that we have a multi-purpose printer, scanner in the back of this office complex here. However, most of the records that need to be scanned across the parking lot are of a larger size than what our printer scanner can handle. And that's why to do those kinds of records, you need to go outside and have a third-party firm perform the work.
In addition to that, there's like probably 20,000 pages of stuff there. It's a very large.
Yes, more than that.
Yeah.
More than that.
Thank you.
All right, we have a second from Mr. Converse. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion's passed. All right, down to Mr. Trent on Redmond Consulting Services.
Mr. Supervisor, I move that the Salem Township Board of Trustees approve the proposal from Raymond Robson to perform a review of the township's retirement plans per the attached quote. And I'll hit the highlights of the quote, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, in the last couple of years, one of the directives from the board when we went through the annual audit process was to have our auditors do a review of our retirement plans. Typically during a financial audit, those auditors are just essentially confirming the amount of funds that have gone into those plans, but they're normally not well versed with the federal guidelines and any potential changes in tax laws that have occurred that would affect retirement plans. And we have the luxury with the Raymond Robson Group to have a benefits division that is headed by an individual who, based on their peer reviews, is considered one of the top 60 experts in retirement plans in the country. And to help bring closure to the issue that has been somewhat of a controversy over the last couple of years regarding our 457 retirement plan, I heartily recommend that the board approve this quote to have Gerald Burnett of the Raymond Group, who's the director of their retirement division, review our 457 plan as well as our fidelity plan and report back to the board their findings. They indicate in their scope of project that they can accomplish that within 2 weeks after they've received the materials, and that would coincide with the planned report of the audit next month. So we'll be able to have our formal audit report from the auditors as well as this report from Mr. Burnett. The projected cost would be in the vicinity of $1,500 to $2,000. You could go higher if they have any issues that they feel need further investigation, and they would apprise Mr. Whitaker and Mr. Wensley if that did require additional time and could get into a higher price range. But based on what has been accomplished up to this point in time, that should not be necessary. But again, it's part of the process that I think would be good to have a different set of eyes review the current status of the plans and make sure that the corrective actions that were implemented in the last year and a half have not been impacted by any changes in tax laws since those were done.
Any questions on this? I just have a question on it. What, in the past, has there been any investigation on this, on our current retirement plan?
Yes.
That has been brought up to date?
There's been, legal counsel was employed from the firm of Fraser Treblecock that did an update of the 457 plan to bring it into compliance because it was still out of compliance at the end of 2011. And the plan has really not been reviewed since then, so this would be a good opportunity for us to do that and take advantage of the expertise of this individual.
Okay. We don't want any more problems. Make sure it's done right. Okay, we have a second? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, we're down to the reports. Clerk, revenue expenditures are enclosed. And now we'll go to Chief Rothwell.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just real quickly, just an update on our fire response for the month of July. We had 46 calls, which is, again, we've been averaging, this is 150% of our norm. We normally have 30 a month. Again, our biggest call request has been through for medicals, 26 of those, and 7 motor vehicle accidents. The rest were other issues like commercial fire alarms, public service requests, etc. Just a couple in those areas. So we are still maintaining what I would say is a very good response time from tone out to door of 6 minutes and 38 seconds. That's really good response time for not having a full-time department. We took delivery of the ultra-high pressure skid mounted unit. It came in this week, got installed Wednesday in the truck. We had some testing on Thursday with our folks. We had some practice with it, with both the foam and the water delivery. It's working as advertised. I'm really pleased with it, but we want to see it in action in a real fire. So before we call it a success, but we want to see it in a real fire. But it's real easy to operate, it's real easy for our guys to use, and it certainly is an upgrade. We'd be happy to do that. Typical out of our big trucks, we get about 120 pounds per square inch is what we're operating at. With this ultra high pressure, we're operating at 1,800 pounds per square inch. So it's significantly more pressure. So I said keep it short and sweet. Does the board have any questions? Thank you.
I have one. In terms of year-over-year improvement, what was the average response time a year, prior?
That's a good question. I don't have those at my fingertips. Of course, we had, at times we had the small trucks parked and at times we did not. I could look those up for you and get back to you with those answers.
Be nice to know.
Sure.
The percent improvement.
Yeah, you're correct. Mr. Plato alluded to, we were up and around the 12s before we had the small trucks deployed, so it has made a significant difference.
So that's 50% improvement. That's great. Good.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, and then submitted is the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department report. And so now we're down to board discussion, which is the potential land purchases. Hopefully, anyone here didn't get their newsletter? Raise your hand if you didn't get your newsletter. Hope that everybody got it. Anyway, we have been getting some feedback, and the feedback has been very positive. We've had some people actually stop at the town hall. I've driven people over to the properties, and it's been very positive. I did receive one that wasn't real positive, but by the time he left, he was, wasn't against it, wasn't for it. So I really want you to talk to your neighbors and people around. This is not something that I think that you jump in and do it tomorrow, but I think it's something that as a township and as a board, is it the right thing to do with some of the resources that we have? Again, for those of you that don't know, this is at 5 Mile and Salem Road, the 234 acres. And then also the property on 6 Mile, which is the 26 acres with a pole barn. Any other questions about it right now, or some confusion, or anybody have any questions about it? Tom?
Gary, I read the newsletter and I meant to go online and see if I could figure out what parcels of land you were talking about. But,
Okay.
I would appreciate more description, say well numbers and address,
Okay,
whatever it takes to look at those on a map.
sure. There is a map available right up here is the Ford Tracks property at 5 in Salem. And the proposed on that piece of property is something for the future of Salem, for either preserving it, buying it outright, whatever makes sense to the township to do. And something for the future of the residents to have, if it's horse trails or it's, but it is a beautiful piece of property. It's a piece of property that can be a developer, just because of the sand and gravel that's out there, that would be pretty, heavily developed. And I think it would be something, you just need to go by it and see it, because I think it sells itself by taking a look at it. the creek that runs through it, also the pond that's on it. But I really do appreciate the feedback, and that's what's important at this time, I think we should do. And again, we had also had a meeting over at the landfill with the new owners, Advanced Disposal. You know, they're confirming that, you know, a good 18 more years are left in there. The gases that are coming off of it, and you know, we just need to, if there's something that we can do for our community and our residents, other than paying attorneys, sorry, Mr. Plato. I think
Made with milk and cookies.
it would be nice to have something that our residents can use. I think we need to do something. It's not about making a name for myself or this board. It's something that the town needs to do, and we need to, it could be something that we can talk about. So I do want your feedback. Okay, anybody else? Questions about it? All right, we're down to public comment. Yes, Jerry.
I had basically two comments. One on, this is a bill here. It sounds to me like we're going in the right direction on appraising property in this township. A couple of years ago, I appealed my appraisal and went all the way to Lansing with it. But the way that the appraisal was done was not by the way that the state says to do it, by the market value of the property. It was done by figuring out what my place could be built from as new construction. And I thought it was not proper. And anyway, so it looks to me like we're going in the right direction now. I had another thing to talk about when I forgot what it is, so.
That's all right.
Forget that one.
When you think of something, when you think of it.
Okay.
Yes, Bonnie?
I would like to know if you guys are aware that we have a bid policy that's in your operating procedures. And as far as I can figure out by reading it, it says anything over $2,500 has to go out for bids. How did we get $3,510 for clear water system? Did we go out for bids for that?
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yes,
Did the
we
board-
did.
Did we see it in the minutes where we approved the bids and whatever?
Well, they were made because we were out of water in the township here, and we took the best equipment, the lowest price.
Oh, then we didn't go out for bids. You didn't put it in like an RFP and go out for
I
bids.
went out and got 3 separate bids.
Before. Yeah, but we always have bad water here.
No, we didn't have any water, so we needed to do something right away. Yes, Mr. Quigley.
Yeah, I was noticing in your sheet here, we got $12,000 allocated for the R&R fire truck repair. Is this an every month kind of thing, 12 grand a month? Is this the kind of bills we get all the time? Because it seems so cheap to keep around the money. Spending $144,000 a year on, if that's the truck.
Okay. Mr. Munch?
Let's just say we buy that property. Have you taken into account there's gonna be liability, and maybe monthly expenses, like what the man here just brought up? We're gonna have insurance, we're gonna have possibly some people cut the grass, or whatever it is. It's just not buying and letting it sit like money in the bank or anything like that. So I think we should take into account exactly what's gonna happen and how fast. And if it's not gonna be in the immediate future, I think we're gambling with the money that we already have. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? All right, then we'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Supervisor, I have a closed motion that will capture all three of the items that we will be going into closed session on. I move that Salem Township Board of Trustees go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2688E to discuss pending litigation on the following legal matters: Jenkinson Hoppy versus Salem Township and Salem Springs LLC versus Salem Township, and also pursuant to MCL 15.2688D to consider the purchase of land conservation easements and property. Attorneys Eileen Husband and Ed Plato to attend.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
Are you going to include our committee, or our board, for the potential purchase of land?
No.
Oh.
No. Okay.
I'll
Need a
second.
John, we need a roll call?
Roll call vote, Converse,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yep.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Schmidt is absent, Trent,
Yes.
Wensley, yes, Whitaker,
Yes. All right, thanks to everyone for being here tonight. We got till 8:30, so you can grab some refreshments and then we can move on, so.